Chapter 1 of Scanners Live in Vain by Cordwainer Smith. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Ben Tucker. Scanners Live in Vain by Cordwainer Smith. Martel was angry. He did not even adjust his blood away from anger. He stamped across the room by judgment, not by sight. When he saw the table hit the floor and could tell by the expression on Lucy's face that the table must have made a loud crash, he looked down to see if his leg were broken. It was not. Scanner to the core, he had to scan himself. The action was reflex and automatic. The inventory included his legs, abdomen, chest box of instruments, hands, arms, face, and back with the mirror. Only then did Martel go back to being angry. He talked with his voice, even though he knew that his wife hated its blare and preferred to have him right. "I tell you I must cranch. I have to cranch. It's my worry, isn't it?" When Lucy answered, he saw only a part of her words as he read her lips. "Darling, you're my husband. Right to love you. Dangerous. Do it. Dangerous. Wait." He faced her, but put sound in his voice, letting the blare hurt her again. "I tell you I'm going to cranch." Catching her expression, he became rueful and a little tender. "Can't you understand what it means to me? To get out of this horrible prison in my own head. To feel again. To feel my feet on the ground. To feel the air a man again. Hearing your voice, smelling smoke. To move against my face. Don't you know what it means?" Her wide-eyed, worrisome concern thrust him back into pure annoyance. He read only a few words as her lips moved. "Love you. Your own good. Don't you think I want you to be human? Your own good. Too much. They said. When he roared at her, he realized that his voice must be particularly bad. He knew that the sound hurt her no less than did the words. "Do you think I wanted you to marry a scanner? Didn't I tell you we're almost as low as the Habermans? We're dead, I tell you. We've got to be dead to do our work. How can anybody go to the up and out? Can you dream what raw space is? I warned you, but you married me. All right, you married a man. Please, darling, let me be a man. Let me hear your voice. Let me feel the warmth of being alive, of being human. Let me." He saw by her look of stricken assent that he had won the argument. He did not use his voice again. Instead, he pulled his tablet up from where it hung against his chest. He wrote on it, using the pointed fingernail of his right forefinger, the talking nail of a scanner, in quick, clean-cut script. "Please, darling, where's cranching wire?" She pulled the long golden-sheathed wire out of a pocket of her apron. She let its field sphere fall to the carpeted floor. Swiftly, dutifully, with the deft obedience of a scanner's wife, she wound the cranching wire around his head, spirally around his neck and chest. She avoided the instruments set in his chest. She even avoided the radiating scars around the instruments, the stigmata of men who had gone up and into the out. Mechanically, he lifted a foot as she slipped the wire between his feet. She drew the wire taut. She snapped the small plug into the high burden control next to his heart reader. She helped him to sit down, arranging his hands for him, pushing his head back into the cup at the top of the chair. She turned then, full face toward him, so that he could read her lips easily. Her expression was composed. She knelt, scooped up the sphere at the other end of the wire, stood erect calmly, her back to him. He scanned her, and saw nothing in her posture but grief which would have escaped the eye of anyone but a scanner. She spoke. He could see her chest muscles moving. She realized that she was not facing him, and turned so that he could see her lips. "Ready at last?" He smiled a yes. She turned her back to him again. Lucy could never bear to watch him under the wire. She tossed the wire sphere into the air. It caught in the force field and hung there. Suddenly it glowed. That was all. All, except for the sudden red stinking roar of coming back to his senses, coming back across the wild threshold of pain. Chapter 1. When he awakened under the wire, he did not feel as though he had just cranched. Even though it was the second cranching within the week, he felt fit. He lay in the chair. His ears drank in the sound of air touching things in the room. He heard Lucy breathing in the next room, where she was hanging up the wire to cool. He smelt the 1,001 smells that are in anybody's room. The crisp freshness of the germ burner, the sour-sweet tang of the humidifier, the odor of the dinner they had just eaten, the smells of clothes, furniture, of people themselves. All these were pure delight. He sang a phrase or two of his favorite song. "Here's to the Haberman, up and out, up, oh, and out, oh, up and out." He heard Lucy chuckle in the next room. He gloated over the sounds of her dress as she swished to the doorway. She gave him her crooked little smile. "You sound all right. Are you all right, really?" Even with this luxury of senses, he scanned. He took the flash-quick inventory which constituted his professional skill. His eyes swept in the news of the instruments. Nothing showed off-scale beyond the nerve compression hanging in the edge of danger, but he could not worry about the nerve box. That always came through cranching. You couldn't get under the wire without having it show on the nerve box. Someday the box would go to overload and drop back down to dead. That was the way a Haberman ended. But you couldn't have everything. People who went to the up and out had to pay the price for space. Anyhow, he should worry. He was a scanner, a good one, and he knew it. If he couldn't scan himself, who could? This cranching wasn't too dangerous. Dangerous, but not too dangerous. Lucy put out her hand and ruffled his hair, as if she had been reading his thoughts instead of just following them. "But you know you shouldn't have. You shouldn't." "But I did." He grinned at her. Her gaiety still forced, she said, "Come on, darling, let's have a good time. I have almost everything there is in the icebox, all your favorite tastes, and I have 2 new records just full of smells. I tried them out myself, and even I liked them, and you know me." "Which?" "Which what, you old darling?" He slipped his hand over her shoulders as he limped out of the room. He could never go back to feeling the floor beneath his feet, feeling the air against his face, without being bewildered and clumsy, as if cranching was real and being a Haberman was a bad dream. But he was a Haberman, and a scanner. "You know what I meant, Lucy, the smells which you have. Which ones did you like on the record?" "Well," said she, judiciously, "there were some lamb chops that were the strangest things." He interrupted. "What are lamb chops?" "Wait till you smell them, then guess. I'll tell you this much. It's a smell hundreds and hundreds of years old. They found about it in the old books." "Is a lamp chot a beast?" "I won't tell you. You've got to wait." She laughed as she helped him sit down and spread his tasting dishes before him. He wanted to go back over the dinner first, sampling all the pretty things he had eaten, and savoring them this time with his now living lips and tongue. When Lucy had found the music wire and had thrown its sphere up into the force field, he reminded her of the new smells. She took out the long glass records and set the first one into a transmitter. "Now sniff." A queer, frightening, exciting smell came over the room. It seemed like nothing in this world, nor like anything from the up and out. Yet it was familiar. His mouth watered. His pulse beat a little faster. He scanned his heart box. Faster, sure enough. But that smell, what was it? In mock perplexity, he grabbed her hands, looked into her eyes, and growled, "Tell me, darling. Tell me, or I'll eat you up." "That's just right." "What?" "You're right. It should make you want to eat me. It's meat." "Meat? Who?" "Not a person," said she, knowledgeably. "A beast. A beast which people used to eat. A lamb was a small sheep. You've seen sheep out in the wild, haven't you? And a chop is part of its middle. Here." She pointed at her chest. Martel did not hear her. All his boxes had swung over toward alarm, some to danger. He fought against the roar of his own mind, forcing his body into excess excitement. How easy it was to be a scanner when you really stood outside your own body, Haberman fashion, and looked back into it with your eyes alone. Then you could manage the body, rule it coldly, even in the enduring agony of space. But to realize that you were a body, that this thing was ruling you, that the mind could kick the flesh and send it roaring off into panic, That was bad. He tried to remember the days before he had gone into the Haberman device, before he had been cut apart for the up and out. Had he always been subject to the rush of his emotions from his mind to his body, from his body back to his mind, confounding him so that he couldn't scan? But he hadn't been a scanner then. He knew what had hit him. Amid the roar of his own pulse, he knew. In the nightmare of the up and out, that smell had forced its way through to him, while their ship burned off Venus and the Habermans fought the collapsing metal with their bare hands. He had scanned then. All were in danger. Chess boxes went up to overload and dropped to dead all around him as he had moved from man to man, shoving the drifting corpses out of his way as he fought to scan each man in turn, to clamp vices on unnoticed broken legs, to snap the sleeping valve on men whose instruments showed they were hopelessly near overload. With men trying to work and cursing him for a scanner while he, professional zeal aroused, fought to do his job and keep them alive in the great pain of space, he had smelled that smell. It had fought its way along his rebuilt nerves, past the Haberman cuts, past all the safeguards of physical and mental discipline. In the wildest hour of tragedy, he had smelled aloud. He remembered it was like a bad cranching, connected with the fury and nightmare all around him. He had even stopped his work to scan himself, fearful that the first effect might come, breaking past all Haberman cuts and ruining him with the pain of space. But he had come through. His own instruments stayed at danger, without nearing overload. He had done his job, and won a commendation for it. He had even forgotten the burning ship. All except the smell. And here the smell was all over again. The smell of meat with fire. Lucy looked at him with wifely concern. She obviously thought he had cranched too much, and was about to Haberman back. She tried to be cheerful. "You'd better rest, honey," he whispered to her. "Cut off that smell." She did not question his word. She cut the transmitter. She even crossed the room and stepped up the room controls until a small breeze flitted across the floor and drove the smells up to the ceiling. He rose, tired and stiff. His instruments were normal except that heart was fast and nerves still hanging on the edge of danger. He spoke sadly. "Forgive me, Lucy. I suppose I shouldn't have cranched. Not so soon again. But, darling, I have to get out from being a Haberman. How can I ever be near you? How can I be a man, not hearing my own voice, not even feeling my own life as it goes through my veins? I love you, darling. Can't I ever be near you?" Her pride was disciplined and automatic. "But you're a scanner." "I know I'm a scanner. But so what?" She went over the words, like a tale told 1,000 times to reassure herself. "You are the bravest of the brave, the most skillful of the skilled. All mankind owes most honor to the scanner, who unites the earths of mankind. Scanners are the protectors of the Habermans. They are the judges in the up and out. They make men live in the place where men need desperately to die. They are the most honored of mankind, and even the chiefs of the instrumentality are delighted to pay them homage." With obstinate sorrow he demurred. "Lucy, we've heard that all before, but does it pay us back?" "Scanners work for more than pay. They are the strong guards of mankind. Don't you remember that?" "But our lives, Lucy. What can you get out of being the wife of a scanner? Why did you marry me? I'm human only when I cranch. The rest of the time, you know what I am. A machine. A man turned into a machine. A man who has been killed and kept alive for duty. Don't you realize what I miss?" "Of course, darling, of course." He went on. "Don't you think I remember my childhood? Don't you think I remember what it is to be a man and not a Haberman? To walk and feel my feet on the ground? To feel a decent, clean pain instead of watching my body every minute to see if I'm alive? How will I know if I'm dead? Did you ever think of that, Lucy? How will I know if I'm dead?" She ignored the unreasonableness of his outburst. Pacifyingly, she said, Sit down, darling. Let me make you some kind of a drink. You're overwrought. Automatically, he scanned. No, I'm not. Listen to me. How do you think it feels to be in the up and out with the crew tied for space all around you? How do you think it feels to watch them sleep? How do you think I like scanning, month after month, when I can feel the pain of space beating against every part of my body trying to get past my Haberman blocks? How do you think I like to wake the men when I have to and have them hate me for it? Have you ever seen Habermans fight? Strong men fighting and neither knowing pain, fighting until one touches overload. Do you think about that, Lucy? Triumphantly, he added, Can you blame me if I cranch and come back to being a man just 2 days a month? I'm not blaming you, darling. Let's enjoy your cranch. Sit down now and have a drink. He was sitting down, resting his face in his hands while she fixed the drink, using natural fruits out of bottles in addition to the secure alkaloids. He watched her restlessly and pitied her for marrying a scanner, and then, though it was unjust, resented having to pity her. Just as she turned to hand him the drink, they both jumped a little as the phone rang. It should not have rung. They had turned it off. It rang again, obviously on the emergency circuit. Stepping ahead of Lucy, Martel strode over to the phone and looked into it. Womack was looking at him. The custom of scanners entitled him to be brusque, even with a senior scanner, on certain given occasions. This was one. Before Womack could speak, Martel spoke 2 words into the plate, not caring whether the old man could read lips or not. Cranching, busy. He cut the switch and went back to Lucy. The phone rang again. Lucy said gently, I can find out what it is, darling. Here, take your drink and sit down. Leave it alone, said her husband. No one has a right to call when I'm cranching. He knows that. He ought to know that. The phone rang again. In a fury, Martel rose and went to the plate. He cut it back on. Womack was on the screen. Before Martel could speak, Womack held up his talking nail in line with his heart box. Martel reverted to discipline. Scanner Martel, present and waiting, sir. The lips moved solemnly. Top emergency. Sir, I am under the wire. Top emergency. Sir, don't you understand? Martel mouthed his words so he could be sure that Womack followed. I am under the wire. Unfit for space. Womack repeated. Top emergency. Report to your central tie-in. But, sir, no emergency like this. Right, Martel. No emergency like this ever before. Report to tie-in. With a faint glint of kindliness, Womack added, No need to decranch. Report as you are. This time it was Martel whose phone was cut out. The screen went gray. He turned to Lucy. The temper had gone out of his voice. She came to him, she kissed him, and rumpled his hair. All she could say was, I'm sorry. She kissed him again, knowing his disappointment. Take good care of yourself, darling. I'll wait. He scanned and slipped into his transparent air coat. At the window he paused and waved. She called, Good luck. As the air flowed past him, he said to himself, This is the first time I've felt flight in 11 years. Lord, but it's easy to fly if you can feel yourself live. Central tie-in glowed white and austere far ahead. Martel peered. He saw no glare of incoming ships from the up and out. No shuddering flare of space fire out of control. Everything was quiet, as it should be on an off-duty night. And yet Womack had called. He had called an emergency higher than space. There was no such thing. But Womack had called it. End of chapter 1.